Breaking news this hour on Democrats' attempts to overturn that Senate primary result in South Carolina. One group has filed a formal complaint with the Federal Election Commission. That happened today, while South Carolina's Democrats set for an emergency public hearing on Thursday, looking for any way to reverse the results of their Senate primary. Alvin Greene won the nomination despite being unemployed, having no political campaign background, doing no campaigning, and apparently facing felony charges.
For better or worse, this protest process is the only platform currently available for that investigation. And let me be very clear. Regardless of the outcome of this protest, a full and unblinking investigation of this election and the overall integrity of South Carolina's election system must go forward.
All right, that's Vic Rawl. He's the guy that got beat by Alvin Greene. So the question now, can Democrats overturn the results? Hugh Hewitt, radio talk show host and law professor at Chapman University, joins us to talk about this. I'm so glad we have a professor now to help us address what's going to happen in South Carolina. Hugh, they're having a meeting on Thursday. We understand that Alvin Greene, if he wants to, and Vic Rawl are both going to be able to present witnesses and evidence. Vic Rawl's made a lot of complaints and allegations. What does he have to do to back it up? Can they even do anything with the results as they now stand?
Shannon, it would have to have any evidence whatsoever of wrongdoing. The State Election Commission announced today that there is not a hint of fraud or manipulation. What there are a lot of unhappy Democrats, and like Florida in 2000 and Ohio in 2004, they don't like the results, so they want to change the rules after the people have spoken. Now, Mr. Greene is certainly an idiosyncratic candidate. I don't know where he came from. I don't know where he got his $10,400. But I'll say this, a 60-40 vote among two unknowns, and I think we should focus on this. Mr. Rawl thinks very highly of himself, but obviously the Democrats of South Carolina don't. He only spent $200,000. That's not much money in a statewide race. Greene was at the top of the ticket, and all this stuff out there that is really just an excuse for James Clyburn, who's mostly ignored by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. He's their number 3 in the House. It's just an excuse for him to get on television, get a little airtime, stir up Democratic base people. Because as the new NPR poll shows today, Democrats are going to get shellacked in November. They're down 8 points in the swing districts. So they're trying to do anything and including create a false controversy in South Carolina around an event that simply disappointed them. There is no scandal there.
Well, and as you mentioned, Mr. Rawl does take umbrage with the fact that this is painted as a battle between two unknowns. He was a former judge, a state lawmaker. He says he actually campaigned. He never saw Alvin Greene out there campaigning. One of the key allegations and questions that he's brought up is about the electronic voting machines they use in South Carolina. He and many others have questions about them. In reading up on these machines, I find that there is great difficulty in trying to get any paper audit trail out of them. I mean, how do you present evidence about these machines when a lot of people think there is no evidence to present in connection with the machines?
Well, it's absolutely an absurd charge. These machines are new. There was a rumor put out there by Democrats that they were used machines bought from Louisiana. That was proved to be false. The State Election Commission takes its writ very seriously. All this is a bunch of unhappy Democrats and a man whose ego is bruised. Now, like me, I'm sure, Shannon, you had never heard of Vic Rawl until a week ago Tuesday, and in a week from now, no one's going to hear from him again. He is not a big picture candidate. He was a placeholder, someone to run against the very popular, highly successful Jim DeMint, who, as your poll just showed, is ahead 58 to 21%. Democrats are going to get shellacked in South Carolina like they are across the country, so they're looking for any reason to hold on to this. And yes, there are some nutter blogs out there, and there are some crazy people from the paranoid fringe who want you to believe that the machines are being run around, but there is absolutely no motive for the Republicans in South Carolina to mess with these machines, because this is a surefire win for Jim DeMint, the senator from South Carolina. This is all made up, and unless they come up with some real evidence, they're going to have to ask us to prove negatives, which we can't do. And as a result, logically, it makes no sense. They should be laughed out of court. They were laughed out of the State Election Commission. And I think most people in the media are laughing at Jim Clyburn and laughing at poor Mr. Rawl, about whom there just isn't much to say except for $200,000 he lost against an unknown.
Not a happy outcome for him. All right, so the Democratic Party there in South Carolina having this big hearing on Thursday. We understand they're looking for a bigger and bigger venue because it's going to be open to the media, be open to the public. I'm sure a lot of people will have things to say. Now, we understand there are 3 potential outcomes. They could actually ask for a new primary, taxpayer funded. They could also accept the results as they are, or they could even take the step they say, of declaring that Vic Rawl won this race because of some kind of evidence. What do you think is the most likely course of action that's going to happen here?
They will file a complaint. They will try. They might even go to federal court, and they will lose. What they're really about, Shannon, and I want the audience to understand this. This is an attempt to stir up Democratic base voters in a year in which a tsunami is headed towards Democrats across the country. President Obama's numbers are down below 50%. He's giving another speech about another failed Obama presidency issue, which is the Gulf. They got to do anything they can to take attention away from the fact that the stimulus didn't work, the TARP didn't work. They raised taxes on everyone. The economy is in terrible shape. Unemployment's close to 10%. They can't handle the Gulf. They can't handle the war. They can't handle anything. So now what are they doing? They're inventing a scandal in South Carolina. So they'll do whatever lasts the longest in the media. But I think the American people are so sophisticated now about Democratic tactics, especially SEIU tactics and stuff like that, that they're actually hurting themselves, especially with this threat, first reported on Fox, that they're going to overturn the election, the will of the people. All that tells you is they're not really about understanding what the American people want right now. They have not heard a lick of what the Tea Party has said. They have not listened to the angst out there about the economy. They're creating sideshows, carnivals, and Mr. Rawl is helping them do that, but it's not very effective in raising the standing of the Democratic Party. If anything, I think that generic ballot, that NPR poll will show next week, it's not an 8-point lead for Republicans. It's double digits when Democrats continue to act like children, and when they're not acting like children, act like paranoids.
All right, Professor Hugh Hewitt, and also talk show host. Great to have you with us. And you put it best, probably, at least currently, a bit of a sideshow going on in South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.